Hey there. Welcome to the Gyro Step, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, proudly a part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and GSPN. I am one of your hosts, Ty Windisch, joined as always by my lovely compatriot who, hey, you know what? Brewers are losing. Bucks lost in ugly fashion. The weather's great, though. We got something, Rohan, joined as always by Rohan Katti. We are presented by Prize Picks, our lovely sponsor. But Rohan, I guess you can try to focus on the weather and the answer here, but how's it going?
I've been better, Ty. I've been
Yeah,
better
yeah.
watching that Bucks game against the Magic.
Cause
It's
health
in it.
problems for
Yeah,
me?
I was gonna say it caused health problems for me, like in our intro. It is tough watch the Milwaukee Bucks are this last week of the regular season as they almost managed to sort of reverse their way into the 2 seed of the Eastern Conference, but um, they end up with the 3 seed with the Knicks beating the Bulls, the Cavs losing to the Hornets. It's been a whirlwind of a day in terms of standings watch as all there were like 8 games going on at once, and all 15 games are happening today for the NBA and their last day of the regular season. It's been a day, Ty, but yes, the weather has been nice as well.
Hit the 70s today here in Oshkosh. So we
Ooh.
we take that. Thankfully, I've been inside for most of that, watching Bucks Magic, a despicable basketball game after the first 12 minutes that were quite nice. And then, as you say, it was a wild day, kind of watching through all the results. I've got to say, first before we get into the Bucks part of this, have they always done all the games at the same times on the last day?
I feel like it's
I know
yeah.
there's been a lot of noon games, so maybe they have, but I feel like it's never actually been as close in so many ways as it was this season. Like this felt like it had a March Madness day one feel. Like for an NBA perspective, which you don't normally say about any regular season day in the NBA. But it was like oh man, what's going on in this game? What's going on in that game? You're looking at all the scores at halftime, and unfortunately, you know what ruined it is the Bucks looked so bad. I got that pit like in the third quarter, like I'm not even moved by this anymore. I couldn't even get fired up about the other results. I was like, whatever, man. Like, I'm not
But
excited to watch them play any of these teams anymore.
no, no, I wasn't excited to watch anything. I had the same feeling as you. It was a slog. The regular season for the Milwaukee Bucks is over, and honestly, thank goodness.
Yeah,
This this was this was painful. It
yeah, it
truly
was
was.
not fun.
It's one of the most painful Bucks seasons I can remember in a long time. It's their worst record in 6 years. It is
Not 50 wins.
Nope. They break the second longest streak, tied for the second longest streak in franchise history. They would have been all on their own with 6 straight seasons if they had won this game against the Magic, but nope, they end at 5, not yet surpassing that streak from 1980 to 87 of 7 straight 51 or 50 game wins in a season or winning percentage equivalent for short
Yeah,
season.
yeah. A lot of Bucks history not being broken in good
Six
ways.
straight division titles though.
Yeah, the Cavs. The Cavs, actually, I guess they would have just been the 3 seed if they had won.
Yeah, they would have not been in Boston side of the bracket.
But they also, I mean, they get to play Orlando now, right?
Yeah,
So they're
but
probably not
why
that mad. Well, with the
why
way their season is going, I don't know if they're planning much past the first round.
which is bad.
Yeah, it's not good. But the Bucks don't have a strong position here to approach this because they also probably shouldn't be looking anywhere past the first round and just need to simply plan one game at a time. They do avoid dropping to the 4, which again, as we're talking about with the Cavs here, that would have at least given you a probably easier first round matchup. I mean, the Magic looked pretty good against the Bucks in this game, of course, but realistically, I think they're probably still the lightest team out of the 5 through 8, at least that, or yeah, out of the 5 through 8. I mean, it could end up being one of Chicago or Atlanta in the A seed. I don't know if anyone really expects that to happen, but of course, it is theoretically possible. If either of those teams made it, they would, of course, be the weakest team on the bottom of the bracket. But for now, I do think it's probably Orlando, despite the fact that they did finish 5. If you're wondering or care, the only reason they automatically jumped up there is because they won their division because their division was horrible. Miami did not end up, or no, they did win, but they needed the Pacers to lose to have a shot to win the division too. They might have anyway through all the other tiebreakers, but they were always going to win the Magic three-way tiebreakers if they won because, again, their division is mostly horrible teams and then them and kind of the Bulls. Or the Heat, excuse me, the Heat. But
Yeah.
the Bucks are the 3 seed. This has obviously worked out for them before. But, I mean, are we being prisoners of the moment? I feel like they've never limped into the playoffs like this before.
Not to this degree, and literally limped because,
Yeah.
again, Giannis is injured at the moment. Did not play the final 3 games of the regular season for the Milwaukee Bucks. No real update from the team. We did have reports from Chris Haynes saying that the Bucks are fairly confident that he will be ready to go for the postseason. But again, we don't know until we see it.
Yeah.
AJ Green also missing the final few games of the regular season with a left ankle sprain. 2 very important members of the Bucks rotation, one more than the other, but that's just because it's Giannis. This team isn't going anywhere without Giannis, but
No.
I can't remember a time where you have this team, if you're the Bucks, and you just sort of limp into the playoffs like this. I think that's a good way to put it. They are not clicking on any level whatsoever. They don't have their full team available to them. And they're looking at a team that smoked them in the regular season in the first round of the playoffs. So fun times ahead, Ty.
Yeah. Fun times ahead indeed. Do you think Giannis should play game 1 against Indiana? And we'll talk a little bit about the Indiana matchup later in this pod. I'm sure we will do a full preview, if not multiple. We know our friends setting the pace here, also on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm sure we'll be talking to Alex and Facci to get their take on how the matchup has changed. Of course, all of the Bucks games against the Pacers are before they pretty radically shifted their team by going and getting Pascal Siakam, who was excellent in the win today for the Pacers against Atlanta. Also, they scored 157 points in that game, which is absurd. I mean, I know it's the Hawks, and the Hawks are reeling from the news that their cheap ownership isn't going to convert Vit Krejci ahead of the playoffs, so he's not eligible. I don't know if he can play in play-in games. I don't know if we have that answer.
I don't think so.
I don't care, but I thought it was funny. They responded to that news by giving up 157 points in regulation. You score 115 in regulation, and you lose by 42 points. That's got to be a crazy feeling.
It truly is.
So the Pacers are looking potent. They are not entering the playoffs like the Bucks are. Is my point there. But first, let's talk about this game, even though we probably don't want to. I think we have to start with Dame. The Dame thing, which just maintains as Milwaukee's number one, I don't know, issue. You want to say issue? You want to say talking point? You want to say, like,
I think issue
factor?
is a great way to put it. I think issue, because it is an issue. It truly is. Like, I don't think there's any other word, issue, problem, gaping hole in the Bucks that you want to say. It's Damian Lillard in a subpar play. I'll say bad. Downright bad play.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he didn't get the foul calls, and obviously they are part of the game, he would have been the worst player in this game for either team. He was 2 for 14. And
Just
usually the passing is there. 2 assists, 2 turnovers in 30 minutes. I mean, just was not able to create for himself or for his teammates whatsoever. And Orlando is a good defensive team, but I would say I think they have a lot of very good defensive personnel. I think Jonathan Isaac is an all-defensive player. I've seen some hype for Suggs. I watch these games. I think he's a good defender. I don't think Suggs is the caliber of defender that should be able to just clamp Damian Lillard, and it wasn't all Suggs on him either. I mean, it was just very disappointing to see him not find any success, again, outside of grifting against Orlando, really at any point throughout this game.
It was really disappointing. Like you said, like the Magic have good defenders. Their perimeter defense has been one of their hallmarks this season. It still shouldn't affect a player to the degree that it did affect a guy like Damian Lillard. It's disappointing. It's a problem, frankly, like I mentioned earlier, going into the postseason where you're supposed to have an upgrade at the point guard position, not a downgrade. And that's what it feels like right now.
Listen, man, I voiced that I would not make that trade again probably 2 weeks ago now in the midst of their horrible lose 6-7 run. And then people dunked on me where I think like the Celtics game he played well, and the first Orlando game. Didn't have a lot of people dunking on me after any other games besides those two. And I think that's my issue with Dame right now is he's like vaguely a superstar, like once every 7 to 10 days. And then the other times is not able to play or just not good. And not good by his standards, sure, whatever you want to say. Not good enough. Not what he was billed as, not what he has been. And I always get people like, it's because he doesn't want to be here, this, that. Then go. Honestly, go. Like, fine. Go play somewhere else. If you can find a team that wants to give up real assets for this experience, if that's the reason, by all means. By all means, brother. I am not begging for another year of this. If this is how it's going to be, and if it's something with his personal life or injuries, I get it. You know what? Everyone on the earth has things they go through. When we're here to analyze NBA basketball, we should not be expected to, okay, what's the day-to-day life of these players? I mean, if there's extenuating circumstances, fine, you can say it's a factor. We're here to talk about the games, though. I can't sit here and go through the personal details of every 450 players plus two ways and legislate that out. Like, all right, let's go into All-NBA. Who had the hardest life this year? No, it's about what happens on the court. It hasn't been good enough. Clearly.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
It's tiring. Every time it's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm here to talk about the play on the court. That's what I'm here to talk about. That's what we're here to watch.
Ty Windisch does not give a care in the world.
I give a care as a human, but as a basketball analyst, no. Oh, well, my thoughts on this playoff series are really going to shift depending on what the vibes are. No, it's just play. That's all we're here to do.
You're telling him to shut up and dribble?
No, he can say whatever he wants. It doesn't mean I'm going to be like, well, I'm giving Dame my All-NBA spot. He didn't play as good, but he overcame so much. And that is how they want to do awards, which is nasty. It's nasty that's how it is. Kawhi never wins anything because he should talk more. Kawhi, if every day he was like, injuries are so hard, they'd be like, you know what? MVP. You overcame so much. Joel Embiid gives an interview every 5 minutes about how bad he wants it and how snubbed he is. MVP award. I'm just saying.
Maybe that's the secret sauce. Maybe Giannis needs to do more of that, considering apparently his first team All NBA spot is up for grabs. I know you have some thoughts on that, Ty.
Listen, if Giannis misses out on first team All NBA, how could you even
By the way,
formulate?
He's been unanimous for like 6 straight years now.
He has to be unanimous again. I can't think of a better summation of Giannis's value than look at the team when he's not able to play. They were on pace for 50 wins. Giannis goes out and they don't get there. They can't get there. I mean, Giannis is everything to this team. Giannis is the only reason they're relevant this season. Everything else that went on, they would be irrelevant right now.
Absolutely, not a question in the world about that. It's just been a whirlwind of a season. Whirlwind, pain, whatever. What were we even talking about? Dame.
Yeah. And listen, I don't want to, again, I think it's bad and I feel bad for him that there's been a lot going on. I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm also not trying to maximize that. All we can do is talk about what we're seeing on the court. I mean, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, you're not.
I can talk about the records. If he wants to release some music, we can talk about that too.
Yeah, release music.
He did a feature, didn't he?
Did he?
I think there was a feat. I didn't listen to it. I've not been in a Dame dollar consumption mood lately. But I think a feature came out. I don't think it would be well received if he dropped like a mixtape right now. I don't think it would be well received by Bucks fans.
Can you imagine? If he did.
They got what, 9 days off? No, they got 6 days off. So
Yeah,
if he wants to get in the lab, the music lab, fine. I would recommend the basketball lab too. But he can do whatever he wants.
He drops a track called like Indiana or something. or better yet, what if he drops a track called Miami?
Oh my God. I honestly, Brian Goins of the Heat Beat Pod was like, you want Rozier and Duncan Robinson for him? And I honestly sat there. I was like, Duncan Robinson would be nasty on a Giannis team.
Come on, man.
I'm not saying I would do that. I'm saying I would like for it to be an easy hell no, ha ha ha. You got stuck with Terry Rozier as your big point guard acquisition, and yet 2 for 14 in a game where you could win and be the 2 seed.
Yeah, yeah. If we're talking about this game, let's do stocks quickly. Dame down 3.
Let me pull up the box here. Yeah, that's fair.
Just abhorrent performance, horrible. Yeah. And this is the final stocks of the season.
Yeah. We don't do that. We do the playoffs as a whole afterward. If for anyone who's not unfamiliar, we do a Bucks stock market report after every single Milwaukee Bucks regular season game, where we can basically track how players have performed all year long. So yeah, this will be the last one until we do all the playoffs at once later.
Yeah. But Dame down 3, I think we need to start there. It's just like we've been talking about, horrible performance, just absolutely terrible in a game where the Milwaukee Bucks wanted to win this game. They played their guys, their available guys. They wanted to win it. They could not go out there and do it. So
yeah,
just bad.
Bill Walton in the chat. Hi, Bill. Big fan of your career. Says, imagine coming back to this pod when Dame hits a game winner in Game 7 at Denver in June. I hope so. I would love to look very stupid all playoffs.
I'll do a reaction video to it. I'll laugh at myself.
I wouldn't do that. I mean, I'll laugh at I'm not gonna do all the work to. I'm not gonna put production value into laughing at myself, but I will laugh at myself.
I mean, it'd be great. Do you have Bill? Do you have any confidence that that's gonna happen? Like, that's where we're at. We can only do things based on what's happened. We can only base the future off of past experiences. And if you want to go off the most recent past experience, it's Damian Lillard not playing up to his level.
Bill knows all about succeeding in Portland and then succeeding other places. So if you give Dame some tips, please, Bill. I don't think it's that Bill Walton. You never know, though.
Oh man!
They followed up with 0% confidence, 100% dreams. So I think Bill is. You know what? Bill is with us. Bill is manifesting. Yeah.
But Dame down 3. I also have Bees down 1.
Yeah, I mean, missed all of his threes. He made his 2-2s. The defense, I think, he had a steal, but I think has not been very good. After we anointed him as turning a corner defensively, he turned back around the corner.
Pat?
Yeah, I think down. I mean, wait, which one?
Oh, Connaughton. Sorry, I keep forgetting there's 2 Pats.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it wasn't even this game, but he just has not been able to hit a shot for weeks now, which is a problem. He only took 1, I think, for that reason. He only played 14 minutes, which is kind of weird. But not necessarily a bad call by Mr. Rivers.
No, not the worst, especially with no AJ.
Jay Crowder played more than Beasley or Connaughton, which felt correct. I mean, Crowder wasn't amazing, but I thought he was better than the other 2.
He definitely was better than the other 2. But again, low bar.
Yeah.
That might be it. It might just be those 3.
Chris was on the borderline for a downstock for me.
Yeah, but then that third quarter run where he was the only player on the Bucks who was actually capable of doing anything made me think.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Bobby almost an up, but I think the game was just too bad.
Yeah, Bobby has been a bright spot like we've been talking about the last.
He has been one of their best players the last couple of weeks. Has been tremendous overall.
Absolutely. So I think we're good with just Dame down 3, Pat down 1, Bees down 1.
Pat C.
Pat C. I refer to Patrick Beverly as Pat Bev. Pat Connaughton is Pat.
Pat Con.
Which is not fair, but it's what I do.
I think it's fine.
Pat Connaughton was here first. I'm sorry, Pat Bev.
You better be careful.
Yeah, if he wants to call me out of the pod, that's fine.
Rowan is gonna battle rap you.
I could beat Rowan in a battle rap.
Wow, I don't know if you should say that. I would help set it up. I mean, it'd be tremendous content. Rowan is an actual battle rapper.
I don't care.
Unless you have another thing going on I don't know about. I don't think it's a fair fight.
I've written diss tracks before.
That is true.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's set it up. Pat Bev Pod, hit us up if Rowan wants to battle rap Rohan.
Oh man, that'd be content for sure. But yeah, I think we're good on that. But just in overall, if we just want to put a pin on this game or finish up talking about this game.
Yeah.
Just bad. overall just bad. The Magic outworked them. They brought the intensity. They played it like it was a playoff game for them because it essentially was. They didn't want to end up in the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
They needed to win this game to stay out of the play-in tournament. They did. They came out there. Their guys played like they needed to, and they controlled the game from the second quarter onwards.
The Magic had 14 points off turnovers and 24 points off turnovers and 25 fast break points. I think one of the few bright spots for the Bucks is their half court defense did look pretty good through a lot of this game. I think they just kind of lost the rope when they couldn't make a single shot later on. The Bucks had 0 fast break points. I mean, we've talked about this. They have no juice without Giannis. None. And it was on display. And they forced a bunch of turnovers. I mean, it only ended up 11, but it felt like through halftime, it felt like the Bucks. I mean, there was a time in the second quarter when the things unraveled for the Bucks. They turned Orlando over probably like 4 straight possessions, and they could not get out and run at all. They're slow. I mean, Dame couldn't get by anybody, and you look at the rest of the Dame's probably the most athletic Buck who played in this game. Bees, Pat Connaughton, one of those 3.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
Mr. Rivers probably could have played Ajax for real minutes in this game.
Probably should have as well.
Yeah. Someone asked if we're just going to call him Glenn. I think Mr. Rivers is just funnier.
It is funnier.
I don't think he's done badly enough to get downgraded again either.
No.
Not that there's no title lower than Mr., but I don't think
we would just call him Glenn Rivers then.
But see, that doesn't? I feel like the joke isn't as good. I don't want the joke to be that Glenn is his name. I feel like that's mean.
We're gonna have a bunch of Glens coming out.
Yeah.
No,
I think support Glens.
I think Mr. Rivers is funny, and it's emblematic of how we feel about it.
I saw a lot of Mr. Rivers blame after the game, which I get. To me, their offense dried up because they didn't move the ball enough. To me, I thought a bigger issue was it felt like Dame and Chris wanted to prove something against John Isaac. And what they proved is John Isaac is an incredible defender, dude.
They were intentionally getting the switch onto Jonathan Isaac for like what felt like an entire quarter. And every time it didn't work, I was like, they're going to do it again, aren't they? And they did. They did it for an entire quarter until they realized, yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah. And the help defense, too. I mean, I thought people were maybe getting carried away because they were just excited he was able to play games again. No, John Isaac came back to the league and is just an amazing defender.
Yeah,
if he plays all year, he's going to be first team all defense next year.
Lock.
That was as good of a defensive performance as I think I've seen all season.
It was incredible. Like
the on ball and the help, like that combo, that's crazy.
No, it was so good. It was a great defensive showcase from Jonathan Isaac, and it showed like, hey, this is a Magic team that's actually kind of formidable. Like they're young and they're probably not going to be like a contender this year. I wouldn't say that at all. As you mentioned earlier, they're probably the weakest team out of that bunch.
I think they could beat the Cavs. I think they may beat. I might pick them to beat the Cavs.
I probably would beat them to pick the Cavs.
You'd beat them to pick the Cavs?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
I'd pick them to beat the Cavs.
You're challenging all over the place.
Rowan, Cavs?
Rowan and the whole Magic team. We didn't offend any Glens, but we offended Mr. David Blundell in the chat. That's his actual YouTube name, and he's offended about Mr. being in it. We can't win, Rohan.
That's fine. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But sorry, Mr. David.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are offending Misters. We're both Misters too. We just don't go by it regularly. No. We are live on YouTube. Make sure to turn on go live notifications and join the GSPN Discord. You could find the links to do both of those things at gspn.info to make sure you don't miss out on anything else that we do, especially when we go live, which we kind of make spur of the moment decisions on going live.
We felt like this was a good opportunity to do it.
We had to. There was so much going on. Were you encouraged by the MarJon Beauchamp Ty Washington fourth quarter? So MarJon 3 for 5 from the field, made his only 3. Ty was 3 for 4 from the field, did not shoot a 3, but had 2 assists. And both players had a 0 plus minus, which is great compared to the actual rotation Bucks, who were all deep in the negative.
I mean, yeah, it was good. It's good to see Marjan coming back from that injury, and even last game, in garbage time, he was getting like a solid 8.7 minutes, something like that, and he looked good. He looked good off the bounce. He was stepping into his shots, feeling confident doing that, and I think he looked good. I think Marjan and Tai Tai looking confident going into next season is the most important because one, Tai Tai can't even play in the playoffs. He
Yeah.
has a two-way contract who is ineligible for postseason play. Marjan Beauchamp likely not going to see the floor in the postseason in real
I would
rotation
not
minutes.
bet it. I think something's gone pretty wrong or very right for the Bucks if we see him. No offense
Yeah,
to Marjan, just based on Mr. Rivers' rotation, he may be behind Chris Livingston right now.
yeah. And so just going into next season, who knows with the Bucks roster, what they're going to be end up doing. Ty Washington, as you've talked to him about Ty, um, he wants to be a backup point guard in the league. He thinks he's capable of being a backup point guard in the league. And for this Bucks team with Pat Bev on a 1 year deal, expiring deal, who knows what that means for the Bucks backup guard rotation going forward. So we might get to see Ty have a shot, who had a great G League season with the Wisconsin Herd, really turned it on as of late. And you can see as he gets into these games late in garbage time that, yeah, he is capable of playing on an NBA floor against like NBA quality opponents. It's
Yeah.
something that we is very encouraging to see and bodes well going into next season, him and Marjan both.
Yeah, I would agree. Any more thoughts on this game? Or can I tell you about the L I took on Prize Picks today?
Oh,
I pulled the
please. Yeah.
Bucks. I pulled
Okay,
the
let's hear
Bucks.
it.
So, if you've been listening or if you're new, we're excited to tell you about our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, more than 3 million members, the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports, your favorite players, your favorite teams, and your favorite hate watches, which has been the Bucks for much of the last month here. All you do is pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, watch the winnings roll in. So this game, I was confident, foolishly, that the Bucks were going to come in and take care of business. So I had Bobby Portis more than 29 and a half points, rebounds, assists. He was close, 28. Bobby gave it a good shot for me. Appreciate you, Bob. I had Damian Lillard more than 33 and a half points and assists. Ended with 18. About halfway there. Not ideal. Chris Middleton, I went more than demon time, 18 and a half points. I was feisty this morning. He had 17. He is close. Probably gets it if the Bucks play a full real game, but of course they were not in it to close the fourth quarter. And then I totally biffed on the Orlando side anyway. Jalen Suggs had been on a kind of a tear scoring, so I took more than 14 and a half points. He only had 4. So just like the Bucks, not firing on all cylinders on
Sure.
Prize Picks lately.
I'll share mine as well. Mine was also
Yeah.
an L. Big Bob showed up for me. I had a goblin, more
Oh.
than half an assist for Big Bob. That was easy. He ended with 1. Got it in the first quarter.
It was easy, but he didn't blow it out of the water either.
Chris Middleton, I took the demon time, more than 2.5 3-pointers made, ended with a big fat 0.
Yeah.
So that
He's
was
been a
fun.
midi merchant this year. Not that that's a bad thing.
You know what? I thought the space would be doing its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Brooke Lopez, more than 17 and a half combined points, rebounds, and assists, ends with 14. And again, I was feeling confident with Jalen Suggs as well. More than a
oh,
combined 21 and a half points, rebounds, assists, ends with 10.
yeah. Not a great game for Suggs. Not a great game for us. Not a great game for the Bucks. But it is great. It is good. No, it's great to play on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code Eurostep for a first deposit match up to $100. That is code Eurostep. The name of this pod, no spaces. GYROSTEP. Match your first deposit up to $100. It's more or pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. So check it out, folks. So yeah, the Bucks lose a stinker to Orlando. I mean, I was kind of invested in like the matchup here and things within the game. Now it almost certainly doesn't matter. The only way the Bucks would see the Magic is if they beat the Celtics. So hey, go Magic!
Yeah,
Would love to
man.
dive back into this matchup, but not going to anticipate that they beat the Cavs and the Celtics and the Bucks for their part. Beat the Pacers and probably the Knicks. That would be a lot happening between. Could you imagine Bucks Magic ECF?
That'd be wild. That's the most 2009 Eastern Conference Finals I could ever imagine.
Glenn back in this series, Mr. Rivers.
Oh,
Anyway, so that's not happening.
Austin Rivers courtside at this game.
He's got the time.
Yeah. Remember when you thought he was going to be signed with the Bucks?
It felt like
it did feel like a possibility.
That felt right there.
Before the Pat Bev trade.
Why are people so mad at Brook Lopez? I just had someone in my mention. I mean, I will say cleverly say when will we admit Slopez is done? I have not really heard Slopez. That is funny.
Good.
That's pretty good.
It's actually pretty good.
I thought Brook was fine in this game. I mean, I don't know.
He's getting attacked by younger, more athletic guys at the rim, which, that's to be expected. He's not like a defensive savant anymore.
But he's like,
he's okay.
Yeah.
He's not the reason the Bucks aren't doing well.
Yeah, it's just like, again, if you want to go down a list and put on that list, Brook Lopez not the same impact at the rim. Sure. I don't get where it's like I tweet about Dame at the time 1 for 11. People are like, Brook Lopez is the problem. Like, come on, dude. No. Come on. Same with Rivers, honestly. It's like, oh, Doc this, Doc that. Unless Doc called the Dame and Chris miss all your shots. I mean, Chris heated up in the third quarter. This was at halftime. But unless Doc called the offense where they miss all their shots, I don't think this is squarely on him either. Or
do
Mr.
you think
Rivers,
the players are in the huddle like, it's a bold decision, coach, but I like the way you're headed?
Dame said, I don't know. I've had a lot of success in this league making the shots, but I'll do it. I listen to my coaches.
This is, by the way, just a note on Damian Lillard. And we're talking about the Bucks record. This is tied for the 4th best regular season record in Damian Lillard's career. And it's the Bucks' worst in 6 years.
Yeah. He also, I believe, logged the fewest minutes per game of his career and led the Bucks in minutes per game.
That's
so
crazy.
It's just wild, the difference in usage and success and everything for Dame this year.
He's like, this is awesome.
I know. He's just good. No complaints. I know everyone's so mad.
This is a great season for me.
Yeah.
Dame's telling and saying everyone's confident going into the postseason. And he's like, yeah, I'm not playing well at all. And our team's really successful. It's like, no, Dame, there's levels to
this. That's not good. Oh, the Brewers lost. I was going to do a whole, hey, at least we have the Brewers thing. I have my jersey on.
Hey, they got the series win.
They got the series win in Baltimore, so you know what? You'll take that every day of the week.
Shelled Corbin.
2 earned runs over 5 innings.
Yeah.
I guess for, Cy Young level pitcher, that kind of is showing them. I'm trying to see if we have any quotes yet. I'm not seeing. Have you seen any quotes yet from the postgame?
I have not seen any quotes yet.
Dame's in the back dropping a freestyle. Shout out to Ray Allen. Somehow holds on to the Bucks single season 3-pointers made record. We were tracking how 2 guys could break it for most of the season, and Dame and Bees' fall off and Dame missing a game. Ray Allen continues to hold that record. When we have time again, maybe in the summer, I want to look how many 3-point records. Yeah. How many 3-point records have been broken for teams? Like this record, like the most made in one season. I feel like the majority have probably been broken in the last 5 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is the uptick in shooting. Like decent shooters in the league now are making like amounts that would have led the whole league, years ago. It's got to be pretty rare for like 2002, I think, like early 2000s, very early, for the record to be that old for a team.
I don't know. That's an interesting homework assignment for us.
I was gonna do it, and then I didn't. So
that's an off-season thing.
Someone gets a retweet from me if they do this math for me. Fair trade.
Yeah. Ty's retweet worth 5 hours of effort.
I don't think it is, but if someone does, I will make that trade. So the 3-6. So here's the Bucks playoff path. Let's go over it in total, and then we can kind of talk about a little bit about each step of the way. Again, we will do full Pacers previews. We have a week. The playoffs don't start until April 20th, so we have time to break this down. And they could play the 21st. I mean, they don't all play the first day. We'll see. But I imagine
it's likely that they play on Saturday though, because
the play-ins,
because the play-in teams would play on Sunday to give them more rest.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think sometimes they make the 7 play on Saturday still, which is, I mean, it's fine. It's still, you still get multiple days.
Yeah.
So the Bucks host the Pacers in round 1. Then if they win, I'm not skipping ahead. I'm just saying if they play the winner of the Knicks and the 7-8, which actually, I mean, I would probably favor the Knicks, but it's either the Sixers or the Heat. So I guess from that perspective of being concerned about those two teams in particular, the Bucks did manage to dodge them in the first round. Yippee. So either Sixers, Heat, or Knicks then will be the Bucks' second round. And we'll know it'll be one of two. We'll know in a few days, right? Whoever wins the first East play-in or the 7-8 game. It'll be them or the Knicks waiting in the second round. So either the Knicks, the Sixers, who I don't believe in, and Embiid left a game with a knee injury and then came back and then didn't play the last game of the year, or the Heat, who are playoff demons/goblins, depending if you're using normal terminology or prize picks terminology. And then in the ECF, I mean, assuming it's going to be Boston, but if the world is as hilarious as I hope it is, could also be the Cavs, the Magic, the Bulls, the Hawks, or one of the Sixers or Heat as well.
Yeah, it's a good path, I will say.
It's not bad in terms of difficulty.
Yes, for the Bucks, this was probably the best way it could have broken.
Second best.
Yes. If you factor in the Bucks losing the game. The Bucks losing that game basically pigeonholed them into 2 or 3, with the Cavs punting that game against the Charlotte Hornets late, where it basically turned into a Canton Charge game for some reason.
Yeah. We got a Doc quote.
Oh boy, okay.
Shout out to Moose in the chat, who's a great member of our community, who alerted me to this. Doc Rivers on the matchup. Indiana has had our number all year, so perfect opponent. Listen, we got to play somebody, and they're tough. They've played great against us. They probably have great confidence against us. We'll have great focus because we're going to have to. That's not... Doc is so good at not being encouraging at all.
I love we have to play someone.
Like, maybe that's where the Doc nickname comes from, because he will just give you bad news straight up. They played great against us. We better be good.
They've had our number.
They sure have.
He's writing the underdog story. We're the We Believe Bucks.
That he's been doing that about himself for decades now. But yeah, I think to your point, you could have seen Orlando in the first round, but it would have required a play-in win for Orlando. So there was always a chance that it was going to be, a Miami. I think it would have been Miami in this situation. So it could have been Orlando, but it could have been the Heat, which of course, came through the play-in and beat the Bucks last year. My opinion on the Heat is they are not that same team that could do that again this year. But, you never know. I thought that about them last year as well, and they went and did it. So, but yeah, this is, you for sure get Indiana, who a very weird season, very hot in the first half, certainly peaked, at least so far, in that play-in tournament, although they didn't win it. I think that was the high point of their season, really kind of thrashing the Bucks several times in a couple weeks. Giannis, of course, set a career high in Bucks franchise record against them. I will say, it's probably the worst opponent to not have Giannis against. I mean, they're all bad, but I think Giannis in particular has dominated them to such an extent, and they've still lost most of the games, but Giannis is such a matchup nightmare for Indiana. I mean, again, I'm not saying there's a team you'd want to play Giannis without, but I think uniquely he was extra almost important in this matchup.
I think absolutely, considering you have that Pacers team where they sort of match up in terms of theoretically where they play that double big lineup. You have Siakam, you have Turner out there. You go to the bench, you got Obi Toppin there for just athletic bigs as well. But it's just, Giannis is a hot knife through butter for that Indiana Pacers defense. Miles Turner can't control him. Pascal Siakam in the past has not been able to control him. Obviously, we have not seen Pascal Siakam on the Pacers against this Bucks team and Giannis, but just based off his career, that's not really been a Giannis stopper. Just Obi Toppin, not one of the worst defensive players in basketball this year. Just not a
lot of dunks and threes though. A lot of dunks and threes.
Yep. The Pacers as a franchise and team this season have not made defense a priority. No. They are the true, we are going to try our hardest to outscore you, and that's how they've been managing to be successful, or relatively successful this season. It is going to be an interesting matchup, but I do agree with your premise. This is probably the worst matchup to not have Giannis for, considering that he is just that constant rim threat that just demolishes that Pacers defense.
Yeah, I think he's always such an edge for the Bucks, but against this team, he's like their number one edge. I mean, I think you look at Miami or Philly, I feel okay about the Bucks defending them for various reasons, but like I think Brook has done really good against Embiid one-on-one. Like I think that's one of the best pro cases for Brook Lopez supporters is I think Embiid and Jokic, he is guarded extremely well, and that's a huge positive to have. Now, of course, the Bucks may not see either of those even if they go on a long playoff run. But against Miami too, their spacing can be suspect and everything else. I mean, obviously Giannis is huge there, but the Heat defend him very well. And against Orlando, the Bucks won without Giannis a few games ago. He, of course, is very helpful in that series as well, but it's Orlando, and you just don't take them as seriously as these other three teams. Indiana, I mean, on both ends, you're really going to miss Giannis. Just having someone who can switch and cover up on defense when they're trying to outrun you, and we've talked about just like the athleticism and the burst that is so lacking on the Bucks, which the Pacers, when they're on, that's their thing. So this is going to be extremely difficult if Giannis does miss any time in the series, which, as you talked about, we don't know if he will yet. Obviously, the Bucks need to and Giannis himself need to prioritize his long-term health and not risk a worse injury to the region of his body where he is currently injured, the calf, the lower leg, if you will. I do expect him to play in, I would say, most of the games in this first round. I don't know if he'll play the first one. I know we had the Chris Haynes report. I think I don't know. I think he doesn't play the first game, but we will see. Giannis is a freak. He might actually feel healed by then.
I'd say he does play.
Yeah.
I'd say that. Just considering what we've seen from Giannis in the past and just frankly
and the rest of the team this last week.
Yeah, where he's watching these games at home instead of building his Captain America shield with Legos at home.
Mariah said, get him out of here. He's going to play game one because of Mariah. She said, hey, I've had enough already.
Too many Legos in this house. I got a lot of kids here as well.
She's going to have Giannis in like the Ewing like ugly jersey at the end. Like, no, babe, keep playing. I'm not ready for retired Giannis yet.
Giannis is going to own it and play on a team in the NBL or something.
Yeah. Him and Chris.
Yeah, he might play for Chris's team, which we can never remember which one it is.
Is it Brisbane Bullets?
I think you're right. We always thought it was the New Zealand Breakers, but I think you're right. I think it's the Bullets.
Let's see.
Oh, boy.
It is.
Look at you getting it right. I was going to say New Zealand, so maybe it's just me. But yeah,
wouldn't it be nice to live in a country where Bullets can still be a team name?
No.
What do you mean no?
Oh, in that, yes, sorry.
Yeah. I was like, Rohan said, listen, buddy, you're not taking them from me. Woo! I broke Rohan. Oh, my goodness. Good to know where you stand on this, Rohan. Good to know where you stand on this issue. I don't remember what we were talking about. I will say it's a big.
Gonna play game one.
Oh yeah, I think Giannis probably plays, but if not, I think he'll play in the first 2 or 3 games at worst. We'll see how he looks in that run. I do think even if he's playing, the Bucks need to pick him up more than ever in the first couple of games, so he's able to, hopefully kind of take over and make his mark on the series later on when. Again, hopefully the Bucks are in position to go to the second round of the playoffs, which they haven't done in over a year now.
That's so depressing.
Yeah, it is. Huge series for Dame. I mean, obviously, any
it's a legacy series.
Yes, and also just like pride. I mean, we're gonna get our lick back, and then goes out and gets embarrassed by the Pacers the last time they played. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
We're gonna get him back. We're gonna get him. He was horrible. I'm going to pull it up. He was terrible in that game.
It was not great. But yeah, this is absolutely, I feel like, a legacy series for Dame. And here's where we're talking about. I said earlier about, hey, it doesn't look like the Bucks have upgraded at the point guard position. This is when we can actually make those decisions, right?
This is the time.
This is the time. This is judgment time. We saw Drew Holiday have all-star. He actually was an all-star last season for the Bucks, and have all-star caliber seasons for the Bucks. Regular season, one of the greatest three-point shooting point guards the Bucks have ever seen in the regular season. And then he goes out and does Drew Holiday things in the postseason, and that is not a good thing. The last few years, Damian Lillard not having his most productive regular season, to say the least. But this is where that narrative can flip in an instant. In an instant. Because this is where that trade comes into play. You don't make the trade for the regular season. You don't make the trade for the regular season honors, awards, all that fun jazz. You don't make it for that. You make it for now. You make it for the postseason. You make it for Dame's big game shot making ability. And we need to see that. This is a big first round for Dame, like you mentioned. I say it's a legacy series. If this does not go well for Dame, I think that is a huge, huge blemish in his career.
I think that is fair to say. Let's see. Overall in the season, Dame against Indiana is averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists, shooting 32% from the field and 26% from three.
Bad.
That is quite bad. That is very, very bad. And I remember when I was doing, I think, a pod with Tony East, who hosts Lockdown Pacers, who you'll probably hear from on our feeds as well as we careen toward this first round matchup. Like I remember he asked me, he's like, so the Bucks or the Pacers just can't guard Indiana if Dame is good, right? And I was like, yeah, I think that's the whole point of the Bucks generally against every team. It's like, all right, Dame and Giannis are both super good, and usually where teams would sell out to stop Giannis, they do that now, and Dame can just take over and open the space back up around the rim. And obviously that part of the equation hasn't been happening. Giannis did just record the first ever 30-point, 60% field goal season in NBA history. So Giannis did his part. Dame not so much, and certainly not against Indiana in particular. But I remember Tony and I were talking after the last Pacers game, and he's like, I guess Dame just wasn't going to hit the shots against Indiana. And I was like, yeah, I guess not. Really, how fun is that, right? So here's the chance. I mean, the Indiana part of it, the overall season part of it, all the people like us who are grousing about Dame's performance, here is the opportunity. And I've seen a lot of times, like, hey, you make that trade for the playoffs, not the regular season. And, I mean, yeah, I agree. Obviously, that's the point. But also, like, you don't want to rely on switch flipping and just like, hey, he was bad for a long time, but he'll just magically be good later. That's usually not how things work. I mean, heat of it all aside, that's usually not how it works. It's not that I'm sick that they lost a game 82 against Orlando. That sucks, but the point is like, yeah, it's the level of play that's been the norm has just been too low. And that has playoff implications. I don't believe the Bucks are going to come out game 1 against Indiana and look like a juggernaut. I just don't. They haven't shown that they're consistent enough or good enough to do that.
No, they haven't shown that at all. And if they do, it'd be amazing to see, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're right. They haven't shown any reason to believe that they are. Here's one thing I will say. The Bucks do have home court advantage in the first round. The Bucks have been an absolutely dominant team at home. They won 31 of their 49 games at home. They had a 31-11 home record and just absolutely were abysmal on the road. They're 18-23 on the road. So if you want to say, hey, home court advantage in the first round really matters, that's your reason. Like you have the Bucks, you have their home crowd. They've historically performed well at Fiserv in the playoffs, aside from 1 year there, Ty.
I'm not going. Don't worry.
Maybe I need to go because the only playoff game I've ever been to has been a win, and it was their only win last season. So Bucks, I'm telling you, you gotta give me some tickets.
Hook up the boy. Hook up Rohan.
But yeah, that's one reason to be sort of optimistic about the Bucks before I just agree with you and say, yeah, there's no reason to believe in this team based on what we've seen against.
I mean, the reason to believe in them is Giannis and what we'd seen from Dame every 10 days this season and most of the time before this season. And like Chris, and we've seen some great playoff moments from like a Brook Lopez before. I will say one of the things I'm concerned about, and I mean, you talk about legacy. I mean, kind of a huge postseason for Bobby Portis, who's like been a very good regular season player for years, but has not been as good of a postseason performer at all historically. And I know he closed out the Suns series and was on the court and had some big moments, but you look at the overall stats and he's been a lesser player in the playoffs. Huge moment for Bobby Portis too, who, as we said, has been one of the best Bucks, maybe the best Buck over like the last 2-3 weeks of the season. Can he carry that over? I mean, he might be starting game one. What level of performance is he at? He should have the same advantages Giannis does. Obviously, he's not Giannis, but being able to score on the interior against Indiana should be there for him too. Big series for Bobby, and not on the same level as the Dame stakes, but a big series and postseason for Bobby Portis as well.
No, that's a great call because we've seen Bobby in the playoffs in previous series. It's really been matchup dependent, right? Like we've seen him have super great series. Like if you want to go back to that title year, like great against the Suns, closing out games against the Suns, does not play against the Nets. Great against the Hawks, against the Bulls, and even last season, like not great against the Heat. The season before that, fine against the Bulls, not great against Boston. And realistically, that series against Boston, it was mostly his offense that was the issue. Like we've seen Bobby be so inconsistent series to series in his postseason career as a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. It would be great to see him just come out firing on all cylinders, honestly. Like, I think this is the most important first round in Bucks franchise history.
Yeah, I think it could get real ugly if it doesn't go well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
they have to win this
catastrophically
series.
Wrong. This is they're the most pressure on the Bucks for this first round matchup. And it's not really opponent. It doesn't matter about the opponent. It's just the fact that they need to at least get to the second round. Because otherwise, what's the point of anything?
Yeah, I think I think there's been a lot of, I've seen this take of like, well, it's about next season because you got Dame so late and had to make the coaching change. You can't think like that with prime Giannis and in his 30s Dame and in his 30s Chris and in his mid-30s Brooke. You go down the list. That can't be the team's mindset. And I absolutely agree with you that losing in this first round, I mean, you thought last year was drastic. I imagine it'd be another drastic offseason if they were to not win this game.
Can't wait for them to pay 5 coaches at the same time.
Make it 4 and just bring back Bud. The Nets are interested in Bud.
Yeah, good for Bud.
He's not going there.
I think he could.
No.
Depends on what the Nets want to do.
Does it?
Yeah, they don't really
can't,
have a lot to play.
You can't just choose to be good.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think he will be a coach in the Central Division next year.
Pistons?
Cavs.
Oh, okay. No more JB?
Yeah, no. I mean, if they lose to Orlando, definitely not, dude.
Yeah, wasn't there a report that they almost fired him mid-season?
I think there's been a lot of reports about the Cavs, which kind of shows you the issue.
I thought you were going to say the Pistons.
No, the reports about the Pistons are like, dear God. They're their worst season in franchise history.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Paying Monty $80 million. It could always be worse, Bucks fans.
This is a low point. There's a Sixers fan in the chat mad that the Bucks couldn't be good enough to play the Sixers in the first round.
But the Sixers have a worse record than the Bucks.
Well, yeah, there is that part of it too. I mean, he meant specifically beat Orlando, and you probably get the Sixers, I think. But
yeah,
I get what you're laying down.
7-8 playoff or play-in matchup.
That play-in's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah.
And then there's the Bulls-Hawks, where you should just put Yakety Sax over the broadcast.
All I'm saying is, if the Sixers want to lose their first game in the play-in and then play Boston and have him, it's not going to go well.
No, I think the Heat have a better chance of beating
Boston.
They do. Knicks Sixers would be an ugly playoff series.
Yeah. I think Nick Nurse said no more Rocco this season, which, yeah, fair enough.
Wow.
Forgot he was on the team.
So, since the Bucks finished at 49 wins, there's people in the chat are going to laugh at me. It's possible they would not have home court against any of the 6 West playoff teams, the top 6, if they are the ones that make the finals. So, not sure if anyone was tracking that like I was. But
I wasn't.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Just one last piece of seeding minutia. The Pelicans could win their 50th. The Suns could win their 49th. So It could be 7 teams in the West that would have home court if they get there, if it's the Bucks.
Cool.
A lot of big ifs.
Play-in team better than the 3rd seed. That's awesome.
What a crazily imbalanced conference this year.
Yep. Too top heavy.
I don't even know if it's. I think it's just too bottom light. I think it's too bottom light is the issue. No, that's the issue with the whole league, though.
Yeah, not a lot of bad teams. What you got? The Pistons, Wizards,
but the ones that are
Spurs, Hornets.
Bad.
Yeah. I'm telling you, watching the Wizards in person in April was an experience of a lifetime.
I don't know if that's happy or sad.
I think happy.
Okay.
I was sitting like 4 rows up from 2 Chainz. It was great.
Did you talk to him?
No. I didn't know he was there until.
I told you.
No, I know, but he had already left his seats at that point.
Would you have called him Titty Boy if you ran into him, or 2 Chainz? Do you not know that was his first rap name?
I did not.
That's a deep cut. So I think he would respect you, but I think it'd be really hard to say it with a straight face. You're not gonna try it?
No, I would not. I would not disrespect 2 Chainz.
You wouldn't say Mr. Chainz, would you?
Mr. Chainz is funny. I'd call him Mr. Titty Boy. How about that?
Well, I guess based on our doc thing, it would mean you're rating him poorly as a rapper. So that could also be an insult.
That's fair.
You're gonna be in a beef with Roan. You're gonna be in a beef with the Orlando Magic. You're gonna be in a beef with 2 Chainz.
I think I worry about 2 Chainz the most.
Yeah, and then also, I mean,
him the most.
You got to worry about James Johnson and.
I love James Johnson. I don't know what you're talking about.
Who's the supermarket guy? Admiral Schofield as well. The supermarket guy is how I think about Admiral Schofield.
Hostile of the Oak Creek Mire. That's a deep pod cut. Let's finish up here. Let's say, how far do you think this Bucks team goes, Ty? With all this seeding the way they are, we know what the paths are. We know the potential teams. Where do you see this Bucks team going?
I am legitimately worried they lose in the first round.
Same. What do you think here? Our friend Toby at The Fan asked me this on the radio the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And
shout out to Rohan doing a little stint on 1250 a.m. The Fan. Shout out to 1250 a.m. The Fan having more Bucks content.
Yeah, I love to see it. I'll ask you this. What do you think's more likely? The Bucks make the conference finals, or the Bucks lose in the first round? And don't do based on just like pure odds making statistics, because then it's obviously the first round thing. Just do it based on your confidence in the team.
Right now, lose in the first round.
Yeah.
And they could make that look really silly, and I hope they do. But it's just been very rough for most of the time. And, you know, you can cite that they've played very well against the good teams, and maybe that'll just be the whole playoffs. But they haven't played really well against this particular good team they're playing in the first round, 1. And 2, it's just like they're not healthy. Dame, it seems like, has something. Dame's had a little something all year. Giannis, of course, the significant injury. AJ Green as well. I mean, that's a factor. He's been a rotation player. He's, you know, with Malik Beasley unable to hit a shot and Pat Connaughton unable to hit a shot and Jay Crowder, a notoriously streaky shooter, and Dame has not been able to hit a 3. Like, it's more important than ever that AJ Green is, you know, maybe he should be healthy by the playoffs, I would imagine, but at ankle sprain, we'll see how right he is. And, of course, the Giannis, we'll see what he looks like when he first plays, etc. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're fraught, I think is a word I've used a lot this year, but they're just fraught. They're in a position where the Indiana Pacers could go and beat them in the first round, which, again, is threat level midnight for the Bucks. Like, a cataclysmic event, most likely, for the franchise. Now it's on the Bucks, the coaches, Mr. Rivers, all the players, everyone who plays, the equipment manager, the travel team, the bus driver. It's on all of them to go out and make it clear that they're better than this. But they haven't been able to do that for an extended period for the last several months.
I'm still going to say conference finals.
Well, I'm glad one of us is.
Purely because of the pressure that's on this series. Everyone in that locker room and on that team, the bus driver, the pilot, the coaches, everyone, they know this. Like, if we know it, that means they know. And this is a battle. That's a battle-tested group. You got 5 champions on there. You got a proven playoff performer in Damian Lillard there. You've got Doc Rivers or Mr. Glenn Rivers.
Championship coach.
I'm just saying he's there. I'm not saying
A couple
anything about
decades
it.
ago. Yeah.
It's been a while. But all of that group, they know what's at stake here. They know what's at play here. They know what stage they are in their careers. It's put up or shut up. It truly is. And this team, I think they're going to put up.
I think they will too, but you asked more likely, and I'm just they get me in negative moods, man.
Oh, absolutely.
The level of play has just not been good enough this season.
No, it's been bad. It's been bad. It's been nothing to really spur any sort of confidence in you. But this is a roster that's talented enough to win the title.
Who do you think outside of like Dame and Giannis? Who would you expect that we are talking about? Oh, they had a great series. Outside of him too. What role player? Well, what role player? What role player would you be sitting
roll your
here?
eyes at me. I answered the question you gave me.
Oh, it's just lame. Okay. I shouldn't roll my eyes at you.
AJ.
Who?
AJ Green.
Oh, I thought you said PJ, and I was like, is he trying to say Pat Bev?
No, AJ Green. AJ Green. I think he has an opportunity to really step in.
See, that's such a better answer than Chris.
Okay, no, I'm answering the questions you give to me. Outside of David Giannis, who's important? Chris, what a dumb answer. What the hell, man?
It's logical. It's stuff fun. Yeah, Chris is going to be important too. It's a good answer. It's a good answer, but it's not the spice I was looking for.
AJ Green with Malik Beasley trending into the dirt with his shooting and play as of late, as we talked about earlier, with that shooting necessary around Giannis and Dame, as Dame wants to be a driver to really set himself up, and Giannis eating up all of that interior space. Brook Lopez playing more of an interior role. Pat Connaughton not being able to throw a penny into freaking Lake Michigan.
Hasn't been able to throw a clover into it.
No, absolutely not. Three-leaf clover, right?
Yeah.
Because it's I would say 4-leaf, but he has the company.
Yep. You got it. You got what I was laying down.
With all of those guys trending downwards, AJ has a spot. Like Doc Rivers trusts him. His teammates trust him. Everyone seems to trust him. He's going to be able to come in there, play his Midwest Iowa game in Indiana and Milwaukee. It's going to be a time. It's going to be AJ's time. It's a coming out party for AJ Green.
You're saying he plays a Rust Belt brand of basketball?
I am saying that.
That's a new one. This lunch pail guy. Great Lakes hoops on display.
He's a great shooter, and he plays physical defense. What else could you ask for?
No, I just found it funny that the way you characterized it.
He's an
some
Iowa guy.
Some people say 3-and-D. Rohan says Rust Belt hoops.
It's what the team needs.
It is. I'm not arguing with you at all. I think it's a great call. I feel like I could go in so many different directions. I'm going to say Pat Bev. I think he's going to keep starting. Like, I think Doc is going to rely on him, and I do think his play, I mean, even if you just look at these last couple of weeks, he's been a huge indicator of the success of the Bucks. The games where he plays well offensively and makes his defensive impact, the Bucks probably win. But if that only happens once a series, it could cost them big time. Like, we all love the Pat Bev experience. It's been great. There are games when he has just 2 points. In this game, he had 2 points in 26 minutes. The Bucks were a third lowest team plus minus. Oh wait, no, this is the Orlando game. Yeah, 2 points from a starter is not ideal. They obviously won a title when that starter was PJ Tucker, who was often having 2-point performances. But there were a lot of different things about the team then than there are now. And I do think his defense probably has to go up even another level. Pat Bev's, if they're going to replicate that run too. So I do think Pat Bev is sneakily very important, which again kind of shows you that the Bucks are just in a fraught position where they need to start Pat Bev because their defense wasn't good enough, and their offense just is what it is at this point. I mean, they had to break up the best lineup in the NBA through the regular season because things just stopped working, which is a weird position to be in. But I'll say Pat Bev, but I love the AJ Green pick too.
Yeah, I think Pat Bev's a great. He's a disruptor. He makes things happen. We've seen that from him in his short tenure with the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll make sure to talk about that during my battle rap with Roan.
Yep.
It's it is going to be really important for Pat Bev to get things going. I mean, obviously we know he's dealing with that injury, um, but still, he's playing through it. He's getting it done. I think that's a great call, especially if he's able to frustrate like the Pacers, a team that
Yeah.
can
We've
be
not
easily
seen him in this
frustrated.
matchup.
No,
Well, I'll have to look I'll look up now how he played against them, with the Sixers. But yeah, we have not seen him as a Buck in this matchup.
Correct. We've seen from the previous Bucks Pacers interactions that it's easy to really get under those guys' skins. So if there's one guy who's gonna do it, it's Mr. Patrick Beverley. I don't know if you knew, but Pat Bev is actually short for Patrick Beverley.
I did. Pat Bev in 3 games against Indiana.
Be really good or really bad.
Shot 23% from the field, 11% from 3. Plus minus of minus 15.5.
Okay, they got TJ McConnell, but we got Pat Bev.
Averaged a solid 3, 3, and 3.
And how many minutes?
Games. 21.
Oof. It's not ideal.
It's not. 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3. Did have 10 rebounds and 8 assists to just 2 turnovers, but had 11 fouls. That's a lot of fouls.
That's hilarious.
More fouls than any other stat is not what you're looking for.
Yeah, TJ McConnell versus Pat Bev in the playoff series is fun, though.
Oh, we have TJ McConnell for a whole series.
Yeah, I know. It's bad.
Oh, no. Oh, no, Rohan.
I know. It's bad. But maybe they just take each other out. Like they cancel each other.
He's so good against the Bucks.
I know. But maybe
they don't give awards for every round, do they? We're not going to have to watch TJ McConnell hoist a trophy.
No.
They should do that. There should be first round teams. They could just get more and more obscure player names on them.
The 3-6 first round of the Eastern Conference MVP trophy.
Who would this be? I'm trying to think of a funny player.
The defensive player of the first round 3-6 matchup in the Eastern Conference.
The James Ennis 3-point percentage in the 2-7 first round award. Imagine somebody hoisting the James Ennis trophy.
Would you even hoist that? Or would you just hold it?
Here,
just be like, okay.
Thanks. The what?
The James.
The Tobias Harris minutes per game.
The Jonathan Simmons hustle award.
Oh, no. All right. We got to a Jonathan Simmons route. Are we done with the pod now?
I think we are. Thanks to everyone who is tuned in here on this live edition of the Gyro Step.
Rohan's battle rep and rights pod.
Oh, man. Yeah, but thank you to everyone who tuned in. Appreciate everyone. And we will have you covered for the Bucks postseason run here at GSPN. We'll have pods after every game. We'll have previews for you before every round, at least the first round. Who knows?
We'll have it.
Yeah, we'll have that's going to happen. But yeah, we'll have you covered with all things Bucks here at GSPN. Make sure you check out all of our links at gspn.info. And yeah, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast or watching here on YouTube, as our lovely live viewers have done. Thank you for all the fun interaction and chat. Shout out Bill Walton if it was actually Bill Walton. I don't want to take the chance.
Just in case.
Just in case, you know. But yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Like I mentioned, check out gspn.info. Subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this. Pod random, and we'll talk to you next time.